everyone, it is Jess here from the Scrappy Sisters, and this is another layout I am creating for the Kidaholics Kits Spring-September online crop, and this is the spelling bee. So this was when you used a word of your choosing to create a layout using those things from the list. So I used my name, Jessica, so I need to have journaling, ephemera, a stencil. Technically I could probably have had or should have had two different stencils because I have two S's in my name, but I just rolled with one stencil. Ink, chipboard and alphas were my things. So as you can see, I've started off with the stencil and I am using the Tim Holtz Distress Oxide ink in blue. I accidentally spilt it on the table, but that's okay. It's kind of like my little palette now. And I've got a sea sponge and I'm just carefully sponging over some of my stencil. I kind of want half a brick wall. It's okay that it's a little bit messy. I'm trying to keep it within its sort of lines, but with a sponge it's obviously going to bleed over a little bit. If I was really, really desperate, I would have used some washi to sort of mask it out, but I couldn't be bothered doing that. So I'm just, going to smudge all this on. I love how bright and blue this paint is. It is just gorgeous. I was a bit iffy as to whether this spray that I'm using classed as an ink, but it is technically written on the bottle as a pigment ink, so I say it totally counts. And so I'm just gonna smush all in on one side of the stencil, and once I have completed this side, and you'll be amazed at how much it didn't bleed. I thought it would have been bleeding in and under the stencil, but it totally didn't. It worked really, really well. Then I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more stenciling on the other side, but just a lot less, just like almost 1 or 2 bricks on the other side. So it's kind of like there's a break in the brick wall, which I think is kind of cool. And then I'm going to pull out... The collection I'm going to use for this is the Pick Me Up collection. And I have fussy cut a whole bunch of flowers out of one of the 12x12 pattern sheets. And this is the collection I'm going to work with for this layout. So once that's done, I wash all my tools and supplies, and I'm going to splatter on a bit more ink using the lavender. And again in the Distress Oxide, and splatter all that on, and then a little bit of gold as well. And then I'm going to pop that aside to dry, and while that's drying, that's when I obviously do all my fussy cutting and cut out all of the florals that I think I'm going to use. Even if I don't use them all, I'm just going to cut them all out anyway. It's not a full sheet, it's probably about... maybe even a quarter of a sheet. Like, it's really not that many. I'd already used a lot of the paper for something else. And so I decided I needed a little bit of a doodly border because there was quite a thick border around the edge from where the brick wall started that I didn't love. So I'm just going to fill that in right now. Often my border comes last. That would be the last thing I think of to do. But I'm just going to roll with it and do it first because I know already that I don't like having such a big amount of white space. If I use this stencil again, I'm going to have to do a doodly border again, or I might even trim my paper and mat it on another piece of paper because, I do not like that. But anyway, so you can see over in the top right, all of those cut out flowers that I've done. I'm going to layer all those up down here, and that's where my photo is going to go. So I'm just going to get to a layering, gluing and sticking and gluing and sticking and gluing and sticking, almost like a big pile, a big mess of flowers is what I'm going to create. It doesn't matter too much if there's sort of some cut ones or some half ones. They can slide in underneath my photo, just as long as I sort of fill all the space around my photograph. That's what I'm looking for. I did matte my photo in some sort of blush pinky kind of colors. Again, just some scraps from 12x12s that I'd already cut. Just trying to use up. I've got heaps of this collection yet, but I was just trying to use up some of the half done pages that I had already cut into. I'm usually really strict with how much of my paper I cut into, but with this particular collection, I have got the full, 24-page paper pad, or is it more than that? It's probably more than that, 36-page paper pad. So I don't feel under any qualms of just cutting into things and using them, which is really nice. I feel nice about that. So once I've sort of worked on that bottom cluster, I'm going to do the same up the top, but I don't have a second photo. So this is just going to be flowers. And I'm just having a play with the placement of how I want these to go. That almost too big. I will use that other extra little bit in a minute. I just want them piled in on top of each other. I'm not too particular about where they go. I know I'm going to play with it and it's going to look really cool in the end. So I'm just trying to shove them all on together. Now, so that was ink, really, is all I've used so far. Ink and stencil. So I've still got a bit more to go. So I definitely reached for my chipboard ephemera first because I knew I had to get chipboard onto this page and I wanted to make sure I didn't forget. So I'm pulling off some of the florals that are the same in the chipboard and adding those to those flower clusters. And it makes a massive difference to those clusters, which I knew it would. I had always intended to add these floral pieces on. So those are my chipboard pieces going in. Then, of course, I need some ephemera for the E in my name. And I was not really sure how I was going to do that because I kind of didn't need any. The layout was pretty good. So anyway, I pulled the ephemera pack, the Pick Me Up ephemera pack, and I'm having a look through. And really all I can find that might work is this tag and a frame. So I'm going to just trim the top of the Friday night part off and save that for something else. And I'm just going to slide the tag in above the top of the photo. And I'm going to cut out that butterfly tag. And that's pretty much all the ephemera I use because the fussy cut florals, which could count as ephemera, absolutely. But the fussy cut florals are my ephemera. So definitely, only just is enough, but only just managed to get that ephemera in because there wasn't really any that suited me. So I'm going to slide that in. You might wonder why I used yellow string. I just felt the colour tied in really nicely with the florals and I found it laying on the floor. So yellow it is. So that tag's going in and then, I'm going to use this little bit of this butterfly frame. So I'm going to trim it down so as to not waste the part that's just underneath the photo. And I'm going to stick that in there. And I'm also going to stick the other half in the frame in this top cluster, just so they kind of match together, like mirroring each other, this top cluster and the bottom cluster. So far, I haven't done J, which is journaling. I've got E for ephemera, S for stencil, I for ink, C for chipboard, and I haven't done A for alphas, but I am getting there. I'm obviously going to use alphas. I don't have a title yet, so that is perfectly fine. So I did have another look through the ephemera to see if anything will work, and I decided to put the ha-ha piece on because it's just, me and my girlfriends having a laugh. Funny note, actually, I did a second layout with these girls, a photo of these girls, which you'll see later on down the track, for these challenges, and I used a ha-ha piece of ephemera on that too, and I didn't even realise. Totally different collection. How bizarre. So what am I doing now? Goodness, just using some foam to stick up some other bits and pieces where they're going to be overlapping. Slow process, apparently, putting my sticky on. I actually have no double-sided foam left, and because of the lockdown we're in at the moment, I can't just go out and buy some. I absolutely could order it online, but I am lazy, so I am using just normal foam, glitter foam, which is fine. It works totally fine, but I have to stick both sides, and so much more work. Oh, I did find another piece of ephemera. I decided to use that dress because I didn't know if I'd ever get it onto a layout for something else. And it's the girls and we're all dressed up and going out for a girls' night. So I thought that worked kind of well. So I just slid it on also. I'm definitely covering the chipboard requirement. Now I'm just adding a few more. And I've skipped to the end because the only other thing I did was to add on my journaling, which is down underneath the photo, which I typed on my typewriter, and to pop on my title, which is also chipboard. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this process, and I hope I've inspired you to get scrappy.